To some of the unsuspecting public, Claire McCaskill is a Democratic lawmaker who represents Missouri in the U.S. Senate. But to users of the popular social networking tool Twitter, McCaskill is also a darn good cook. McCaskill is one of numerous politicians adopting Twitter, a service that allows users to type short bursts of information to potentially thousands of people. Politicians have used Twitter as a way of communicating with constituents and reacting to current events, perhaps the consequence of the service's easy incorporation into iPhones and BlackBerries. Some state lawmakers in Missouri use Twitter to provide quirky snapshots of their lives. State Representative Ryan Silvey conveyed to me his affinity for the video game Rock Band 2. Senator Jolie Justice revealed on Twitter that she believed Diet Coke was, quote, the nectar of the gods. And McCaskill let thousands of her followers in on her recipe for creamed spinach. But truth be told, Twitter is polarizing. Some people I know swear that it is the greatest internet invention since the hamster dance. Others absolutely refuse to sign on, feeling that it is nothing more than a sophisticated bragging contraption. I'm somewhere in the middle, as I see some value in relaying small bits of information to a wide audience. For example, last week I provided Twitter followers with a link to an absolutely true and completely real story about Governor Jay Nixon's foray into professional wrestling. The story happened to fall, coincidentally, on April 1st. And for some, Twitter can be a good way for real-time reporting on a press conference or a speech. And I'll also confess that I've enjoyed using Twitter outside of work. My followers will know, for instance, when I'm craving an infinite sandwich. And when Missouri basketball player Matt Lawrence started draining threes during the NCAA tournament, Twitter was the perfect method of conveying my happiness that the St. Louis County native was also my Facebook friend. But those comical examples highlight some downsides. People who use Twitter a lot end up voluntarily relinquishing elements of their private lives to potential strangers. Because of my constant usage, for instance, several people in the Capitol building have inquired about my karaoke regimen. And while many journalists successfully incorporate Twitter into their reporting, I question whether the service can provide enough depth. That was certainly the point of an April Fool's joke from the Guardian newspaper, which announced it was converting all of its news over its 100-plus year history into tweets. The joke certainly made me LOL, so to speak, but let's take it to its logical conclusion. If someone chose to mash up the 15 to 16-hour House budget process into bite-sized chunks, would that reporter inform more or less than if he or she concocted a full-length story? And even if the reporter meticulously provided 100 tweets about the debate, would that be too much information for a passive follower to really care about? It may take time for those questions to be answered. One of the great things about the internet is that, like an amorphous blob, it is always changing to internalize new technologies. If Twitter, like instant messaging, blogs, or web videos, find a way to stick around after the next sensation emerges, the service's impact on our lives could be longer than 140 characters. I'm Jason Rosenbaum.